Explain the survey, I want to mention our live Twitter feed, as you can see over here. We're posting tweets on the wall behind us to encourage you to tweet your questions and comments. Just remember to include the hashtag YVSWPG Forum. Keep in mind we want to encourage healthy discussion and debate, so inappropriate or distasteful tweets won't be permitted. I'm joined on stage by Winnipeg Foundation staff, and they're doing a number of different jobs, including moderating your tweets, recording your questions that are submitted on Twitter, and keeping time. The Winnipeg Foundation is a community foundation that works with donors and community groups to improve Winnipeg by making grants. Last year, it supported more than 800 charitable agencies with grants of $21.3 million. That would be Judy Washalisa-Lees.
Thank you very much, Noel. And thank you to Winnipeg Foundation and to all the participants who produced this most amazing document, Vital Signs. I've read through it and have been blown away by your recommendations and your insights into how to make Winnipeg a city that works from the point of view of basic services and rights and opportunities. Just this morning, actually, we were at the Winnipeg Convention Center where we heard from a woman who's been fighting for the creation of human rights cities and said to us, you know, we go out on a street and we might fall down, and what happens? People rush to pick you up. You tripped over a rock, but do they stop and take the rock out of the way? No, we don't address the roots of homelessness and poverty, and we don't address the roots of crime in our society, and we don't address the roots of youth being disillusioned with our whole process. And I know from talking to many of you, you're pretty disillusioned with politics in general. You think politicians are in it for their own glory and power and money. And we had enough bad apples to actually leave that bad taste in your mouth. But I've learned from this campaign that if it wasn't for young people, half my platform would not be there. So it was a young person who told me we should have an Our Winnipeg studio to involve young people in the planning process at City Hall. It was a young person who said we should have youth councils. It was the AYO that said we should have a 24/7 recreation center, and so much more. And I'm so honored to be able to work with so many young people, and I thank you all for your contribution. And I thank you for the opportunity to have a very unique debate. That you've given us an opportunity that we wouldn't have otherwise had to talk strictly about the voices of youth in building a city, your future. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. And I would like to start this by saying that, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I used to be a school teacher. I taught for 10 years at the St. Vital School Division, and I just want to tell you a little story about one of my kids that I taught. He was in grade 6. His name was Jeff, and he came from a lower socioeconomic background. He was a discipline problem. Basically, he was a mess. But the thing is that I believe that every person, every kid has a spark that you have to find. And that is what I did. Constantly I saw him in the hallways. I said, Jeff, what did you do today? You know? And he told me, I did this, I did that. But the thing is, he was never gaining into anything. So I took him aside. I took him through noon hours to teach him music, you know, on a private level. And I slowly integrated him into a recorder group, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. He was actually the tenor. And if you guys know what that sounds like, it sounds like a pipe organ. It's actually very beautiful. He accelerated immediately into math. He accelerated immedately into language arts. His homeroom teacher did not even know where this came about. But that is how I would address the issue for homeless people, to find that specific thing that they are interested in and focus on that. If it's for employment, it's for employment. That will bring them out of the hole. And for the social workers to veer that interest into something solid. When the success is done, to use those people as role models for future people that are in desperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
I won't bore you with my background except to say that I've had many years of experience in government and have a great deal of knowledge of the city of Winnipeg, and I certainly have some very definite ideas about how to make the city of Winnipeg better for you and for everyone. My wife and I do have 6 children who are all well launched, and we have 12 grandchildren who are younger than everyone in this room, and I certainly do share concerns that are expressed in the Vital Signs report. I was struck by the statement, and I'll just quote it. Many respondents commented on the difficulty of moving into an independent lifestyle. Their challenges include lack of access to affordable and safe housing, poor availability of entry-level jobs, rising costs of living and education, and transportation woes. It seems harder than ever to achieve self-sufficiency in early adulthood. To me, that's a wonderful summary of what all of you, or those who answered the questionnaire, see as the difficulties right now, and the kinds of things which City Council can't solve on its own, but it can certainly be part of the solution. And certainly I pledge to have a youth-friendly City Hall and would want to involve young people, as I always have in everything I've done during my life. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here today, the opportunity to speak to you. I very much appreciate that. This campaign has been about infrastructure, and infrastructure is so important to the way we actually live together. But the basic foundations of infrastructure is actually good basic city planning, because that's actually what designs a good city for the long term. When we build something, it lasts for a generation, 2 generations, 3 generations. And so we have a problem here in the city of Winnipeg about how we live together. Many of you know this. You can see this in the types of social issues that we're always facing day after day. How we live together. We create neighborhoods which are fantastic for a few people, but not for everyone. And we need to have more mixed housing within our city. I presented throughout this campaign a very long-term vision for our city, based on what other cities are doing. Calgary plans for 100 years into the future. Here in Winnipeg, we do 25. And what we do really well in those 25 years is crisis city planning. We move from crisis to crisis to crisis. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I was in the military for 18 years. I'm a professor at the University of Manitoba. I'm actually a program director of the Aboriginal Focus programs there. A father of 5 children. And one of the most interesting things I learned about this campaign is people often judge you on how you look. And in fact, actually they judge you and look at you and say, how old are you exactly? You don't have the experience to be running a city. But then I say, hey, wait, just because I look young doesn't mean I don't know anything. And this is one of the things that I find many young people have to combat day after day, is talking to other people and saying, you know, we have been listening, we have been learning throughout our entire lives, and we really do understand what we should be doing. You just have to give us a chance.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and for being engaged. And I've already done 2 or 3 interviews on my way in here, so I can tell that you're quite keen, and there's some students here doing some projects. I'd like to thank the Winnipeg Foundation for supporting and encouraging this type of activity. And when I read this report, it is really quite different. Your priorities are quite different than almost every other debate that we've been part of. This is our 28th debate in this campaign. We have 2 to go yet before E-Day. So some of us are, a little weary from it. We did have a 3-hour session this afternoon with the Chamber. I think what I have learned the most out of this campaign is a significant divides in our city. And it's always been there, and in my time on council, I learned about how much poverty there is in this city. But we saw throughout this campaign, from the summer onwards, the divide between the Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal community, between the North End, the South End, between rich and poor, between males and females. Divide after divide. And we happen to have a world-renowned human rights activist in our city. And I too was at this breakfast that Judy mentioned, along with Robert Gillette. And Shulamith Koenig, for any of you who don't know, is a world-renowned human rights activist. And the biggest message I learned in my announcement yesterday around human rights and bringing all these divides together, I think is what the crux of this campaign is for me. And so I'm pleased to see that many of the priorities that you have established in your report are reflective of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. It is incredible to see this auditorium is filled as it is right now, and thank you so much for the work that you've put into this report. We're going to have a great discussion here tonight. So I'll just let you know a little bit about who I am and why I'm running, as well as what I'd like to do if I'm given the privilege of serving as your next mayor. I'm a 43-year-old father, husband. I don't have 5 children. I don't know how you're still standing, Robert. I have 2 very rambunctious boys at home right now who are delivering literature, I think, in St. Vital tonight with my wife. They've got the wagon out. You know, this election is about the future, and you're part of it, and we need you to be part of our future here, our shared future here in Winnipeg. For too long, we've seen politicians look backwards, and even during this campaign, some have been really focused on what they did or didn't do in the past. I'm trying to have a discussion about where we need to go in the future. The Conference Board of Canada predicts that Winnipeg's population will reach 1 million people strong in about 20 years. And I don't want to have debates about infrastructure that's based on where we are right now, because if the politicians don't start planning for the future, you know what you're going to get? More of the same. And we need to be visionary, we need to look forward, and we need to have the courage of our convictions to strive for the best that we can be as a city. I'm really optimistic about Winnipeg. I'm optimistic about its future. The reason I'm running is I want to get a city hall that works with greater openness and transparency, greater accountability. I'd like to focus on a growing, thriving, more modern Winnipeg with modern infrastructure and modern amenities and more jobs for our youth coming out of our colleges and universities and high schools. And last but not least, stronger and safer neighborhoods. The issues that are in this report are going to be, it's going to be awesome to discuss them in greater detail. Everybody has some good ideas up here, and I look forward to the discussion. Thanks very much.